In the shadowy corridors of Versailles, where whispers of schemes drifted through halls wrapped in gold and velvet, one fateful night unfolded. A night that would forever alter the destiny of a single woman. Picture this. A young bride, her heart fluttering with hope and anticipation, stepping into a candle-lit chamber, only to find 23 pairs of eyes fixed upon her. Eyes of men eager to witness what should have been sacred, private, and meant only for two. This was no fairy tale. It was a dark reality woven with betrayal and revenge. Are you ready to step into a tale where desire dances with fury and love becomes a weapon? Then hold tight. This is the story of Catherine de Medici, the woman whose vengeance rattled the walls of the French court. Catherine de Medici was born in 1519 in Florence, into a world where power and deceit walked hand in hand. Her father, Lorenzo II de Medici, Duke of Urbino, died when she was just weeks old. Her mother, Madeleine de la Tour d'Auvergne, followed soon after. The orphaned child grew up under the watch of relatives in a place where every step could lead to triumph or ruin. The name Medici carried both glory and danger. Artists like Michelangelo and thinkers like Machiavelli, but also poison, daggers, and secret alliances whispered in the dark. Catherine inherited more than riches. She possessed a mind sharp enough to weave the finest webs of intrigue. At 14, her fate was sealed in Rome. Her uncle, Pope Clement VII, arranged her marriage to Henry, the second son of the French king, Francis I. It was a political chess move, a union meant to bind Italy and France against the Holy Roman Empire. Catherine, delicate and dark-haired, with eyes full of wonder and unease, left her beloved Florence behind for a new life in France. But who could have imagined that this life would become a stage of humiliation and cold-blooded vengeance? When she arrived in Marseille in 1533, the welcome was breathtaking. Armored knights, women in silk, banquets, and music filling the air. Her fiancé, Henry, was tall, composed, with thoughtful eyes. He was not destined to rule. His older brother Francis was the Dauphin. But fate took a cruel turn. In 1536, the Dauphin died suddenly after a tournament, and Henry became heir to the throne. Catherine, the future queen. Love, however, was not part of the bargain. Henry's heart already belonged to another, Diane de Poitiers, a woman 20 years his senior, a widow with elegance and a sharp mind. Her golden hair and poise captured him completely. She became his mistress long before Catherine arrived. This triangle haunted the young Italian. Catherine kept her silence, studying French language and etiquette, while bitterness quietly grew inside her. Their wedding took place on October 28, 1533, in Marseille, a spectacle of splendor. The archbishop gave his blessing, nobles cheered, and Catherine, dressed in white satin and pearls, walked proudly to the altar. But the true drama came that night. By French custom, royal marriages required witnesses to confirm their consummation. Yet what followed went far beyond tradition. Inside a chamber draped with tapestries of mythic lovers, Catherine waited nervously. She was modest, innocent, raised with strict Italian virtue. Henry entered, uncertain but dutiful. Then, one by one, 23 men stepped in behind him. King Francis himself, his trusted companions, courtiers, all of them there to witness. They seated themselves around the bed, the curtains drawn just enough for them to see. The king smiled and murmured that it was custom, a formality to ensure legitimacy. Catherine froze, her face burning with shame. A Medici princess, exposed before men like an object on display. Their murmurs filled the room. Their eyes gleamed with crude curiosity. Under their watchful gaze, Henry fulfilled his duty. It was not an act of love. It was a public ritual. When it ended, the witnesses departed, whispering among themselves. Catherine lay still, tears tracing her cheeks. That night something dark awakened within her, a silent promise. "They will see my power," she vowed. "I will repay this humiliation." Years slipped by. Catherine would one day bear 10 children, but for the first decade her womb remained empty. The court whispered behind her back, "The Italian is barren. Henry should cast her aside." Meanwhile, Diane de Poitiers ruled over the court's heart. She dressed in black and white, symbols of moon and sun, and Henry, ever devoted, showered her with jewels and castles. Catherine endured in silence, but she learned. She delved into astrology, alchemy, and the subtle craft of manipulation. Around her, she gathered Italian advisors and a group of captivating women known as the Flying Squadron, spies who used charm as their sharpest weapon. In 1547, King Francis III passed away, and Henry ascended the throne as Henry II. Catherine was now queen, yet the reins of power still rested in Diane de Poitiers' hands. Diane decided state matters, influenced appointments, and even oversaw the upbringing of Catherine's own children. The queen observed quietly, her expression calm, while her mind spun threads of quiet retribution. Her revenge would be deliberate, and as patient as a serpent waiting to strike. The first blow arrived in 1559. During a grand tournament celebrating their daughter, Elizabeth's marriage to King Philip II of Spain, Henry appeared in Diane's black and white colors, a public declaration of devotion. His opponent, Gabriel de Montgomery, shattered his lance in the joust, and a deadly splinter pierced the king's eye through his visor. For 10 agonizing days, Henry suffered. Catherine never left his side, while Diane was banished from court. When the king finally died, Catherine dressed in black mourning garments and wore them for the rest of her life. Now she ruled France as regent for her son, Francis II, who was married to Mary Stuart. Diane was stripped of her estates and jewels, forced to return everything Henry had given her. Yet for Catherine, this was only the beginning. She had not forgotten the 23 faces that watched her humiliation years before. Many of those men were allies of Diane and favorites of the late King Francis I. Her first strike was against Cardinal de Lorraine, one of those witnesses and a powerful figure from the Guise family. Playing both sides between Catholics and Protestants, Catherine carefully arranged plots against him. Soon he was accused of conspiracy, arrested, and according to whispers, poisoned in prison. Next came Constable Montmorency, who had once laughed that shameful night. Catherine sowed conflict between him and the Guises. During the Battle of Dreux in 1562, Montmorency fell, his body mutilated on the battlefield. But that was merely a prelude to the chaos that would follow, the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre of 1572. By then, Catherine ruled through her son Charles IX. The Protestant Huguenots had grown powerful, guided by Admiral Coligny, who had gained the king's trust and influence. Catherine saw him as a threat, and some of the very men who had witnessed her humiliation were now among his allies. Her plan unfolded with precision. The marriage of her daughter Margaret of Valois to Henry of Navarre, a Protestant, brought both Catholic and Huguenot nobles to Paris. Tension filled the air, yet no one could predict what was coming. On the night of August 24, 1572, the bells of Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois began to ring, the signal. Catholic troops surged through the city, attacking the Huguenots. Admiral Coligny was the first victim, thrown from his window. Blood ran through the streets of Paris. The Seine carried away countless bodies. Among the slain were several of those men who had once mocked her, Count de la Rochefoucauld, Baron de Barreau, and others. Catherine stood at a window in the Louvre, gazing at the chaos below. "This is for my honor," she whispered. Yet even as vengeance blazed around her, peace did not come. Her son Charles IX died in 1574, tormented by guilt and nightmares. Her next son, Henry III, was weaker, leaving Catherine to rule in his name while her own health declined. She died in 1589, just months before Henry's assassination. Her vengeance left deep scars on France. The kingdom was torn by religious wars. The Valois line ended and the Bourbons rose. Still, history remembered her as the Black Queen, the Italian woman whose fury was born from one night of humiliation. Was her vengeance only for that single night, or for years of silent torment under Diane de Poitiers' shadow? Diane met her end in 1566, thrown from her horse. Catherine seized her estates, erasing the last trace of her rival's influence. Catherine de Medici's life remains a lesson. A woman's power in a man's world demands sacrifice. She came as an outsider, rose as queen, and became the mother of kings. Her revenge transformed into legend. Catherine patronized art, founded the Tuileries Palace, brought Italian cuisine and forks to French tables, and nurtured ballet's beginnings. Yet her name stayed linked with poison, prophecy, and blood. She confided in Nostradamus, who had foreseen her husband's fate. The young lion will overcome the old one on the field of battle. And as the tournament proved, his prophecy was fulfilled. Even in her final moments, Catherine whispered, "I avenged myself." Her legacy, a haunting blend of brilliance and terror, lived on, shaping the destiny of France and the myth of a woman who turned shame into power.